And what I have for you today is a Scratch app in which I would like for you to discover that structure. So on your worksheet, at the top of the page, it shows you, based on which group that you're in, which of the various situations that you're going to look at here. And the way that this Scratch app works, I'm going to assume the role of the group that's working on the pentagon for a moment. Okay? So if your worksheet says pentagon, that would be group 7. You and back. Then what I'm going to ask you to do is to investigate the effects of the elements T and R. I'll make this a full screen here. Investigate what happens with T and R, and how are the T's and R's related. So I have 5 or 6 questions down here at the bottom of the worksheet to have you explore. But maybe together we can sort of look at T and R just by themselves. So you can either use your computer keyboard to type T and R, because it's a little quicker, or you can click on the T and R in the Scratch app here to do it. So if I were to just select T, what has happened to my pentagon? It's flipped. It's been, what would we call that in geometry? A reflection. I've reflected this pentagon over one of its reflective axes of symmetry. The blue line here, right, is the reflective axis of symmetry. Okay, so that's what T does. And again, whichever one of these figures you have, T is always going to be that reflection over the vertical axis of symmetry right here. So that's T. What about R? So let me take the hexagon for a second. That would be your group. If I hit the R, what have I done? Rotate. By how many degrees? 72 for the pentagon. 60 for the hexagon. What's the main feature? Why is it 72? Why is it 60? Why is it 60 in this example? How do we know? Because I've taken a full circle rotation, and I've divided it by the number of sides in this regular hexagon. So here's a question. What are all of these different things, what do they all have in common? All the different R's and T's that I can do here. And you'll notice as you hit T and R repeatedly, it's building a word over here. It sounds an awful lot like a rational tangle word, right? But what do all of these share in common? What's happening to these hexagons and these pentagons through the process of doing these things? Maybe I'll just give the game away here. These are all symmetries. Right? They're all different ways of, if you like, picking up the shape off of the table, turning it, reflecting it, rotating it, whatever, and putting it back down in exactly the same spot that you found it on the table. Right? So that's what all these T's and R's and combinations of T's and R's have in common. They're all what we call symmetries. They're ways of putting the shape down on the table in the same place you found it. Right? And your job is to explore this app. So the link to it is on your worksheet. So it works because it runs on Flash, because Scratch has a Flash backend. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on mobile devices very well. Maybe some Android, I'm not sure. But it works on most contemporary web browsers. So explore it and try to answer the questions that are there. And the main question that I want us to be sitting with over the next couple classes is, how is it similar to the rational tangle story? And what are the important differences between it?